Southern California native and investigative reporter for Fox LA, Bill Melugin, joins us for the first time on the program. Bill, thanks so much for your time today and excellent reporting.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me.
Of course. This is really, really disturbing to hear about these LAPD officers. That's a lot of money in overtime. You've had protests, then you've had the riots. Tell me about this, because I can't imagine anyone right now looking at these headlines and thinking about going into law enforcement as a profession. What have you seen being there on the ground and from your story?
Well, I'll tell you right off the bat, I have a lot of LAPD contacts, a lot of law enforcement contacts, and they are all telling me that morale has never been this bad. They see it as absolute rock bottom. Take a look at what's happened with LAPD just within the last couple of weeks here. They go on full citywide tactical alert. All these cops are called in during the protest. They work all these long hours, some 16-hour shifts, some no time off whatsoever. They're told no sick time, no vacation time, pedal to the metal. This is what you're doing. And then this memo comes out from the police chief saying, from June 7th forward, we can't pay you guys. No overtime. You're going to be given comp time instead. So officers are furious. So just yesterday, or 2 days ago, actually, my sources within LAPD told me that there were the transit division, they contract with MTA for all the metro lines and everything. Their budget is they're paid via overtime. So with them finding out that they're not getting any overtime, they had 43 call-outs and they're losing 18 people per shift. They just flat out don't want to come in because they're not going to be paid. Sure, comp time can be paid off down the road. Maybe when you retire, you can cash it out, or it's a promise of a day off in return. But these officers are furious because they're working these long hours under the impression that they're going to be paid for them. They want cash for them. They don't want comp time. They want cash. They're spending all this time away from their families. They're putting themselves at risk on the front lines. They're having things thrown at them. They want cash. And now they're being told from LAPD, look, guys, we appreciate all the hard work you're putting in, but we're out of money. And from June 7th on, mandatory, it's only comp time. And they're taking away all non-essential overtime. And a lot of task forces within LAPD operate on that overtime, one of which is the human trafficking task force. So that's not working right now. There's no funding for it. And the other thing is there's still essential overtime. Basically, LAPD officers say there's another round of protests and things get crazy, right? They're going to call in all those LAPD officers again. Say it happens this weekend, but they're not going to get paid for that overtime. They'll get comp time.
Gosh.
So they're going to and then you add this on to the fact that LA City Council is moving forward with slashing $150 million from LAPD's budget. And just yesterday, the City Council announced a motion that they want to stop using LAPD officers for nonviolent calls, and they want to put together a specialized task force of professionals, social workers, that sort of thing, to respond to calls about homeless, mental health, that sort of thing. So LAPD rank and file, they're really upset right now. There's rumor, I've had this told to me by 3 or 4 sources now, rumors that they're all planning to do a blue flu mass call out at some point in the coming weeks to kind of show the city, okay, you want to see what a day without cops looks like? We'll show that to you. So they haven't set that day in stone yet, but there's a lot of frustration in the police department. There's even a meme, like a wanted poster going around of the LAPD chief, Michael Moore, that officers are circulating. It says he's wanted for theft, for tricking the officers into working overtime and not giving them the cash for it. So again, morale very low right now.
Unbelievable. Well, the defunding the police is already happening, it sounds like, in Los Angeles, and I don't think many people would blame them if they ended up doing what you're just reporting on with the blue flu. Tell me what you have seen as it relates to just policing at this point in general, because obviously I can imagine that they're not hiring, people aren't wanting to enter into law enforcement. Are they, because for contrast, in Baltimore, after riots and protests took place, there was a study on policing done in Baltimore, Maryland, and it showed that Baltimore police were less likely to engage. There were actually fewer arrests and crime increased. Are you seeing something similar? It might be a little early on to tell, but what are your thoughts on that as it relates to Los Angeles?
I don't have all the stats and numbers, but I can just tell you kind of what my conversations are with officers in the field, which is that they're starting to feel just an overall sense of, okay, if you guys don't want us, then, maybe we'll show you guys what it's like without us. And that's why they're kind of talking about doing some of these blue flu calls. And with the MTA, I mean, those officers, they're the ones who guard all the metro lines.
Yeah.
And in LA, I'm sure you know this, we have the unique problem of the homeless situation.
Yeah.
And LAPD officers, they kind of have to play the part of social workers. They get called out to all of these homeless calls, and that's one of the things that the city is now looking at. They want to take LAPD out of that situation and replace it with unarmed professionals. But the question mark here is, how are they going to make that happen? We have more than 60,000 homeless in the county. There's constantly calls about the homeless, about mental health issues. How are you possibly going to hire enough people to be able to respond to all these nonviolent calls? And then another question I have is, let's say, what about these gray areas with domestic violence? Say, it's an argument between a husband and a wife that hasn't turned violent yet. Typically, if someone hears yelling, they're going to call LAPD, but now you're going to essentially send someone out there with a clipboard. And what happens if emotions run high and things turn violent and a weapon is pulled out and you don't have an officer there?
Right.
There's a lot of questions that the city of LA has to address here, and they're just kind of dipping their toes into the water with this and looking at it, but they're moving forward with it, and it looks like we're going to have a very, very different police force in LA here potentially, in the coming months and years.
Wow. And yes, those domestic calls tend to, in most cases, be some of the most violent ones that officers are called to. Goodness. Well, I feel for them, and I feel for all of the innocent citizens there who are just watching all of this go down and wondering, okay, well, we're paying the same in tax, and are we going to be protected? Are we going to be safe? Boy, that's going to be interesting when elections come around, and as you said, too, when police departments are reshaped. Bill Melugin with Fox LA. Bill, you do excellent work. Appreciate all you do, and we're going to continue to follow your investigative reporting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Of course. Take care.